Hebrews, Hebrews, Hebrews. This is a Prophets of Awakening. This is the 3rd of November, 2022. This is our Women's Advanced Bible Study night. We're going to be uh, picking up and dealing with what we was dealing with last night on Clubhouse. There's a difference between an Israelite and a Jew that has to be rightly divided. So I'm asking everybody to check out our videos on Prophets of Awakening channel. There's a lot of information given in the videos. Will connect dots for you and bring you into the truth of the Hebrew Scriptures, the Tanakh. If you understand the information that is being presented, I'm asking to like, share, and subscribe to Prophets of Awakening and hit the notification button. For those that don't know, this is a non-Messianic channel. We deal with the Tanakh and the Torah. The Tanakh is the Old Testament, so-called Book of Remembrance, and the Torah is the first 5 books of the Old Testament that was passed on to Moses on Mount Sinai. Shalom and welcome to Prophets of Awakening. Welcome to our Advanced Women's Bible Study. We're going to do our normal, which is moment of silence, a prayer, psalms, a women's health moment, current events, then a little need-to-know information. There's a Q&A, then we're going to the topic. Okay. This moment of silence is for the Lord of hosts, Israel's Redeemer, and Yahweh, our Creator. O Lord, righteousness and uprightness belongeth unto thee. Therefore we come before thee at this hour, seeking thy face and looking for righteousness and uprightness, that we may walk before thee as thy servants David and Solomon, Samuel and Hezekiah did, that we may walk before thee in truth and in righteousness and in rightness of heart. Give unto us, O Lord, an understanding heart, that we may discern between good and bad, for you possess the power to turn us. For we desire to walk after thee, O Lord, and to keep your commandments and your testimony and your statutes with all our heart and soul, to perform the words of the covenant that was written down by your prophets. O Lord, allow thy face to shine upon thy people. Hear our plea, O Lord. Hear and do. Hide not thy face from us, for we need you so very much at this hour. Peace be unto you. Okay. Read the Psalms. Okay, I'll read Psalms 27. The Lord is my light and my salvation. It's a Psalm of David. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the strength of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? When the wicked, even mine enemies and my foes, came upon me to eat up my flesh, they stumbled and failed. Though a host should encamp against me, my heart shall not fear. Though war shall rise against me, in this will I be confident. One thing have I desired of the Lord, that I will seek after, that I may dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, to behold the beauty of the Lord, and to inquire in his temple. For in the time of trouble, he shall hide me in his pavilion. In the secret of his tabernacle shall he hide me. He shall set me up upon a rock. And now shall mine head be lifted up upon my enemies round about. Therefore will I offer in his tabernacle sacrifices with joy, and I will sing. Yea, I will sing praises unto the Lord. Hear, O Lord, when I cry with my voice. Have mercy also upon me, and answer me. When thou saidst, seek ye my face, my heart said unto thee, thy face, Lord, will I seek. Hide not thy face far from me. Put not thy servant away in anger. Thou hast been my help. Leave me not, neither forsake me, O God of my salvation. When my father and my mother forsook me, then the Lord will take me up. Teach me thy way, O Lord, and lead me in the plain path because of mine enemies. Deliver me not over unto the will of mine enemies, for false witnesses are risen up against me, and such as breathe out cruelty. I had fainted unless I had believed to see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. Wait, O Lord, be of good courage, and he shall wait on the Lord. Be of good courage, and he shall strengthen thine heart. Wait, I say, on the Lord. Okay? Anybody got any comments on that? Yeah, I want to shine light on verse 9. I keep on shining a light on this. And I'm going to do it again tonight. I was saying in Isaiah 43, right here it says, Isaiah 43, starting at verse 10, says, ye are my witnesses. This is the Lord talking to the Israelites. Ye are my witnesses, said the Lord, and my servant whom I have chosen, that ye may know and believe me and understand that I am he. Before me there was no God formed, neither shall there be after me. Even I am the Lord, and besides me there is no Savior. So he's proclaiming right here to be the Savior of Israel, the Redeemer of Israel. He's not trying to be he ain't trying to profess to be Israel creator. He says, I'm the Savior. Verse 11, 43:11 says, even I am the Lord, and beside me there's no Savior. Right? And so you go back to this psalm right here. And verse 9 says, hide not, David talking to him. He says, hide not thy face far from me. Put not thy servant away in anger. Thou hast been my help. Leave me not, neither forsake me, O God of my salvation. See that? It's El, when you understand what's going on. The El of my salvation, strong one of my salvation, which is let you know it's an angel. Okay. So with that being said, we're going into some current events. Okay. Shalom. Okay, shalom. Get this right here. See what's up with this. Okay. So
West Asia is tense. Saudi Arabia has issued a warning. It claims an attack by Iran is imminent. Within 24 hours, the threat perception has changed. The reason is this. Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, is sending out a message. He wants revenge for the death of Qasem Soleimani, the high-profile general who was killed in an American drone strike back in 2020. Khamenei is making fresh threats. He has promised to retaliate. The Revolutionary Guard Corps, spelling out what they call targets, quote unquote, they have released a propaganda video. Are we headed towards a dangerous escalation? Let's start with Khamenei. He was speaking to a group of students yesterday. He used the opportunity to send out a message to the United States. Khamenei said he has not forgotten the assassination of Qasem Soleimani. He then said this: Iran would retaliate when the time is right. And, quote unquote, we stand by our words. Who was Soleimani? He was Iran's most powerful military commander, the head of Iran's elite Quds force, and the brain behind the Iranian military operations across West Asia. Many saw Soleimani as the second most powerful man in Iran. He died in Iraq in a US drone strike. It was ordered by the then US President Donald Trump. Why did he do it? Here is the explanation that they gave at that time.
Soleimani was plotting imminent and sinister attacks on American diplomats and military personnel, but we caught him in the act and terminated him. Qasem Soleimani has been killed, and his bloody rampage is now forever gone. He was plotting attacks against Americans, but now we've ensured that his atrocities have been stopped for good. They are stopped for good.
There was shock and anger in Iran. Thousands took to the streets across the country. There was an extended period of mourning. Yes, there was sorrow, but there was anger as well, especially within the establishment. And since that day, Iran has been threatening revenge. Now, Khamenei is reiterating that same vow. His tone is much more aggressive this time. Yesterday, Khamenei blamed America for another thing. He said the US is responsible for spreading disinformation among Iran's youth. And then he went on a rant against the West and the protesting Iranians.
The plan was to make the Iranian nation support them. They want the Iranian nation to adopt the same beliefs as American and British leaders, and so on. This is their goal and their plan. Of course, the Iranian nation slapped them in the face and will keep slapping them in the face in future. Those who planned the protests and operated on the ground with intention, knowledge, and a plan, this is very important to us. They were connected to foreign services. They committed crimes.
And that is what this is all about. As the massive protests against the regime continue, the Iranian establishment is intensifying its attacks against the regional rivals and the West. Khamenei claims there is a direct connection between the Western powers and the ongoing protests, but there is no compelling evidence yet to support that theory. But that has not stopped Iran from upping the ante. The propaganda from Tehran is only intensifying. A video has been released. It comes from the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, one of the most powerful paramilitary organizations in West Asia. It threatens drone strikes on Israeli and American targets in West Asia. The video is quite dramatic. It begins with scenic views of Israel. There are representative images of what looks like an American military base. And towards the end, we see a huge line of drones and military vehicles. And the video ends with a grim warning. I'm quoting, "It is only our will that keeps us from firing." Take a look. Let's call this video what it really is: propaganda. But the messaging is clear, direct, and ominous. Look carefully again. In one of the frames, there is a military officer. Look at what he has on his desk. That is a photograph of Qasem Soleimani. So will Iran follow through on these threats? We will have to wait and see.
Okay. Anybody got any comments on that? It's like everybody turned against the US and the West. Nobody wants to deal with it.
We get down to the beat, y'all. We get down to the beat, y'all.
Hello and welcome back. In this Black Excellence series, we will highlight the most successful immigrants in the United States, Nigerian Americans.
Welcome to Black Excellence. This is where we celebrate Black excellence, achievement, and affluence. Our mission is to inspire you as we enlighten you.
The Nigerian American journey is still relatively new compared with that of other major immigrant communities that grew in the U.S. in the 20th century. What was once an ethnic group of just 25,000 in 1980 has now expanded 1,600% to approximately 400,000 here in America. Today, Nigeria is the largest source of African immigration to this country, and these young, ambitious immigrants are becoming successful entrepreneurs, engineers, doctors, CEOs, professors, athletes, and founders of tech companies all across this nation. But to understand why the Nigerian American population has become model American citizens, it's important to understand how our Nigerian American population developed. It's informative to dissect the Nigerian immigration patterns, and it's key to learn from their unique set of qualities and traits. In this Black Excellence featured presentation, we will highlight the 10 facts around Nigerian Americans, the most successful foreign-born group in the United States. So without further ado, let's get started. Number 1, education above everything. In the U.S., Nigerians are the most highly educated of Education is paramount in Nigerian households and is an essential part of the Nigerian community. Nigerians hold the belief that the best inheritance that a parent can give to their children is not material things, but it is a good education. So what we find is that the Nigerian diaspora throughout the US and the rest of the world are a highly educated populace, with a large proportion of the Nigerian diaspora members holding bachelor's or advanced degrees. And when Nigerian American professionals enter into the workforce, it's almost a 50% chance that they will land a job in education services. Number 2, Nigerian brain drain to America. Brain drain from Nigeria is the exodus of middle-class and highly skilled Nigerians, which have been occurring in waves since the 1970s and 80s. After Nigeria gained its independence in 1960, there were 4 major contributing factors that led to what is called the first wave of Nigerians who migrated to the US. First, a trend developed of wealthy Nigerians moving to the UK and the US for education, with a smaller number migrating for work opportunities. Second, the 1965 Immigration and Nationality Act made it easier for Africans to enter the US, resulting in a spike in Nigerian immigration. Third, in the 1970s, the Nigerian government was eager to support the educational attainment of its citizens and sponsored thousands of scholarships to attend American schools like UNC Chapel Hill, Yale, and Harvard. And last but not least, after becoming citizens, Nigerian Americans could sponsor relatives back home for citizenship, relatives who were able to enter the United States as legacies to pursue educational and professional opportunities. Number 3, Nigerian Americans are very career-driven. Nigerian immigrants are substantially more likely than the overall U.S. population to join the labor force and work in professional or managerial occupations. There is a 73% likelihood that Nigerians 16 and older will hold a job here in the U.S. Moreover, almost 55% of Nigerian immigrants occupy management positions. Immigrants today play a crucial role in the U.S. workforce, and certain industries are much more dependent on immigrants. Nigerian Americans, in particular, are developing the skill levels and obtaining the education to make major contributions to the American economy and the future labor force that will become more and more dependent upon immigrants. Over the next decade, as the baby boom generation leaves the workforce, Nigerian Americans are positioning themselves well to take on the vacant high-level jobs. Number 4, U.S. immigration system cherry picks Nigeria's top 1%. With a population of almost 220 million people and 30% that are illiterate, Nigeria has a poorly educated underclass where almost 100 million people live in multi-competitive sports. Number 7. Social and organization networks provide strong connections. Due to the large presence of Nigerians in the United States, a strong sense of community and network of organizations exists to provide support for both newly arriving and already settled immigrants. While the notion of social networks plays a role in most Americans' lives, the importance of networks for Nigerian migrants and their families cannot be overstated. These Nigerian American networks help establish interpersonal ties, linking kin, friends, culture, and community members. While many of these networks are interpersonal and formal, there are many volunteer-led organizations designed with the intent to help Nigerian Americans either secure jobs, support each other's business, or simply adjust to American society. Number 8. More Nigerian immigrants decide to become U.S. citizens. Nigerians are more likely to speak English and more likely be naturalized U.S. citizens than any other foreign-born population overall. 52% of Nigerian immigrants not only come to America, but they stay in America. This high naturalization gives Nigerian Americans an advantage over other immigration groups, since naturalized citizens on average do better economically than non-citizens. Moreover, naturalized citizens earn up to 70% more than non-citizens, have higher.
Okay. So you're probably saying, why am I playing this? Well, I stated a couple of times on Prophets of Awakening, but Nigeria is Ephraim. You go to Ezekiel 37 when the two sticks. You're gonna bring Judah and connect them to Ephraim, bring them back together. Ephraim is from Joseph. Okay. So anyway, we're gonna do our women's health moment. See what we can get out of that. Okay. 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 Just getting ready. Let me get got some need to know information right here.
Leave Kyrie Irving alone. I doubt that he has reached the vibrational polarity that I have reached. Now, you talk about the movie From Hebrew to Negro, and you call that anti-Semitic. But the movie Birth of a Nation, which was sponsored by a so-called Israelite, is a lie. And you said nothing about that. Nothing whatsoever about that. Birth of a Nation is a lie. From Hebrew to Negro is truth. It is in the Bible. It is biblical truth. do you really want to talk about truth? If so, did Columbus discover America? Yes or no? Let me restate that. Did Columbus discover America? For those of you who are Christians and profess to know the Bible, who profess to believe in the Bible, is the Bible anti-Semitic? Is the Bible anti-Semitic? Have you ever read Revelations chapter 2, verse 9? Revelations 2, verse 9. Does this verse make the Bible anti-Semitic? Let me read to you chapter 2, verse 9 of Revelations within the Bible. I know thy works and tribulation and poverty, but thou art rich. And I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. Let me read that again. I know thy works and tribulation and poverty, but thou art rich. And I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. Let me once again put before you, is the Bible anti-Semitic? Is Revelation 2, verse 9, should that be excluded from the Bible? Now, do not believe anything that I tell you. Read the Bible for yourself. For it was Caucasians who gave Negroes the Bible. It was slave masters who gave Negroes the Bible. Perhaps they did not expect Negroes to ever learn to read and interpret the Bible for themselves. Could this be true? The Bible also states that Jesus looked like me. White hair, the color and texture of lamb's wool. Feet, the color of burnt bronze. This is also in the Bible. It is written as such in the Bible in 2 places. Do not believe anything that I tell you. Look it up and read it for yourself. It is in the book that you use to educate slaves. Once again, perhaps you never expected slaves to read. I am a Hebrew Israelite. I am the progeny of Moses' brother Aaron. I am a Hebrew Israelite. Deuteronomy 28 describes the experience of my people thoroughly. I have a question for you. Is the movie Birth of the Nation true? Is the movie Birth of a Nation true? Are black men guilty of raping white women, or are white men guilty of raping black women? Let me repeat that question. The answer is not necessary, for the question is totally rhetorical. If you believe in truth, then you know the answer. Are black men guilty of raping white women, or are white men guilty of raping black women and their daughters during the time of slavery and beyond? Was it said that laws against black people are not laws that white people have to stand up to or agree to? Let me ask you a question. If you believe that God is omniscient and omnipresent, do you believe that God can be deceived by lies? If you believe in God, do you believe God can be deceived by lies? Did Columbus discover America? Is Birth of a Nation a movie that was helped produced by Israeli Jews? Is that movie true? Why are you offended by from Hebrews to Negroes, but yet not offended by Birth of a Nation? It makes no sense for one who is of a spiritual nature. Let me repeat that. It makes no sense for one who is of a spiritual nature. Let me go on to say that if God had a chosen people, they would exceed other groups of people mentally and physically. In every sport that African Americans are allowed to participate in, we dominate. And for African Americans to be such a small minority in the United States, why do we excel in science over other groups? Why do we excel in music and dance over other groups? The truth is like alcohol. If you desire to believe in lies, the truth only hurts when you have decided and desired lies over truth. This is the only time truth will hurt. Truth does not hurt one who desires truth.
Okay. Any comments on that? Anybody got any comments on that? Okay. Yeah. So with that being said, we go into the lesson. It's let me play this right quick. This is what happened to Kyrie Irving today, and I think it's all because of the Shaq and Barkley.
How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today I bring you an update on the Kyrie Irving controversy surrounding quote unquote anti-Semitic posts that he made, or at least one post that has been deemed as offensive on Twitter. Now, he has been made to pay $500,000 to the ADL, not to the NBA, not to the Brooklyn Nets, who he plays for, but to the Anti-Defamation League. Now, you know who these guys are. You've seen them before. I've covered them in videos before. Remember an incident from a while back where they said that this sign right here, the OK sign, was a symbol of white supremacy, of white power? Well, the ADL has that on their website, and I'm not making it up. Let's go ahead and put it on the screen right now so you know who we're talking about when we say the ADL. These are the guys that Kyrie Irving had to pay $500,000 US to. Okay. So you see it right here. It says ADL, OK hand gesture. And you see the little image right there, maybe kind of small on your screen. But they're saying the three fingers that you have held up, aside from your index and your thumb, the three fingers held up, that means that that's the W in white power. And your index and your thumb in the loop make the top part of the P. And then your forearm makes the stem of the P. So you have white power. This is a real thing. Okay. So it says this is a racist hand sign. These are the guys that Kyrie Irving had to give $500,000 to. Not just him, but also the Brooklyn Nets, because they moved a while ago. Anyway, the reason they're giving them money is going to go toward causes and organizations that work to eradicate hate and intolerance in our communities. So what does our communities mean? Who are we talking about exactly? We're talking about Brooklyn, New York City. We're talking about certain racial groups, ethnic groups. What are we talking about exactly? I don't really know, but that is the update. And there's a long, there's like a whole essay as far as a statement. I'll link to that in the box. Maybe I'll read it a little bit later, but let's just press forward here. Now, why is all this happening? What exactly did Kyrie Irving do? That's a great question, and I'm glad you asked. Now, all Kyrie Irving did was post a documentary on his Twitter called From Hebrews to Negroes, Wake Up Black America by Ronald Dalton Jr. And I'll link to that in the box if you want to see it for yourself, because maybe you want to make a decision for yourself. Hey, is that really a racist book? Is that really a racist movie? Why can't I decide for myself? And there's the book cover right there. You see it right there on the left-hand side. This is the book. Okay. So that's going on there. And All he did was just post it. He didn't say anything about it. He didn't make any comments about any ethnic group. He said nothing. All he did was post it. But some people think that that book and movie has anti-Semitic tropes in it. So just because he posted it, that means that he is an quote unquote anti-Semite as well. Amazon are not anti-Semitic for hosting the book and streaming a documentary on Amazon Prime. They are not anti-Semitic for doing that. But Kyrie Irving is a bad guy for posting the book on his Twitter page. If I go to a library,
Okay, anybody know about that? Did they find Kyrie Irving $500,000? Okay. Can you hear me? Can anybody hear me?
We hear you.
Okay, yeah. All right. So let me go on into the class. It's like I said, well, we had a pretty good class last night on Clubhouse, and it was we was dealing with the difference between an Israelite and a Jew. And so I'm gonna pick that up because of what I'm gonna do tomorrow on Clubhouse is I'm gonna come back with a part 2 to that because it got interesting. So I'm gonna come back with a part 2. So the first thing I want to do is give a definition of what Israelite is. So let me get it. So what it says according to the Bible, the Israelites are descendants of Jacob, who was later renamed Israel. Following a severe drought, Jacob and his 12 sons fled into Egypt, where they eventually formed 12 tribes of Israel. The Israelites were later led out of slavery in Egypt and subsequently brought to Canaan by Moses. They eventually conquered Canaan under the leadership of Joshua. Modern scholars agree that the Bible does not provide an authentic account of the Israelites' origins and instead view it as constituting their national myth. However, it is accepted that the narrative does have a historical core. Okay, then you go down and it says, in the Hebrew Bible, the term Israelite is used interchangeably with the term 12 tribes of Israel. Although related terms, Hebrew, Israelite, and Jews are not interchangeable in all instances. Israelites refer to the people whom the Hebrew Bible describes specifically as direct descendants of any of the sons of the patriarch Jacob. Okay, we know Jacob had 12 sons. Jacob's name was changed to Israel, and his descendants as a people are also collectively called Israel, including converts to their faith in worship or in national the national God of Israel, Yahweh. Hebrews, on the contrary, it is used to denote the Israelites' immediate forebears who dwelt in the land of Canaan. The Israelites themselves and the Israelites' ancient and modern descendants, including Jews and Samaritans, Jews, is used to denote the descendants of Israelites who cohabitated when the tribe of Judah absorbed the remnant of the northern Israelite tribes. So this is what you have to pay attention to. This is what the guy was doing. That a couple of guys last night was doing. They trying to bring all the like it says right here. It says let me get it. It says Israelite refers to people whom the Hebrews describe specifically as descendants of the sons of the patriarch Jacob. We know that's the 12 tribes. Then he go on and say, and his descendants as a people are also collectively called Israel. Now that's that's the Israelites. Now here we go, including converts. See, convert ain't no Israelite. So it says, including converts to their faith in worship and the national God of Israel. So that's right there. They're sliding them in. That's what he was doing last night. and they've been doing that for the last 400 years or so. And then it comes on down and it says, and the ancient Israelite and modern descendants. See that? Ancient Israelite and modern descendants, including Jews and Samaritans, they are included as descendants of Israel. That's not true. The people today is not Israelites. Just like I say, they Jews and they Israelis. Just like right here. And like I said last night, he was doing the same thing. And you talk to any pastor, because they've been in seminary, they're gonna say the same thing. But it's obvious. This came up last night. Let's look at it. It says right here. And yeah, chapter 10. Chapter 10 of Genesis. It says right here, you know, like man was saying last night. It's chapter 10, verse 2 of Genesis. The sons of Japhet, Gomer, Magog, Midian, Javan, Tubal, Meshach, and Tyrus. Those are the original sons of Japhet. Then the children from them were the sons of Gomer, Gomer's descendants, Ashkenaz, right there. So these people, the Ashkenazi Jew, which is predominantly the majority of the people that's over in the land, they converts. They was converted to, they proselytes. They was converted into Israelites, converted to Judaism. And so how it's got layers to it, and they hide behind those layers. So when you say Judaism, that has nothing to do with Israelite. That's a religion that was a cut off of our nation when the Most High discontinued us from our culture. These people came in and they occupied the land of Israel when the Israelites was laying out, and they picked up this Judaism is tied to the Talmud. And the Talmud don't have anything to do with Israel. So like I said before, they slid all this in here together and made one big old gumbo out of it and saying that they're all Israelites. So like I said, the people that occupied the land after the Greeks ran us out, after Antioch Epiphanes ran us out, those are Jews. And then he also says, including Jews and Samaritans. So who's the Samaritans? Let's look at it. We're going to go to 2 Kings. Okay? Go to 2 Kings right quick. Second Kings, chapter 17. Okay, and we see right here in chapter 17, verse 24, that the king of Assyria came, and it says that he took the Israelites. Let me pick it up, verse 20, 2 Kings 17 and 20. And the Lord rejected all the seed of Israel. It's the original seed, it's the Israelites, and afflicted them and delivered them into the hands of spoilers until he had cast them out of his sight. So these are the 10 tribes, right? And then they headed by Ephraim. That's why I mentioned the Nigerians a minute ago. So 20, and the Lord 21, and he rent Israel from the house of David. So he rented them from the northern kingdom. And they made Jeroboam the son of Nebat king, and Jeroboam drove Israel from following the Lord and made them sin a great sin. For the children of Israel walked in all the sins of Jeroboam which they did, and they departed not from them until the Lord removed. Here we go, right here, 23. 2 Kings 17 and 23. Till the Lord removed Israel out of his sight, and as he had said by all the servants of the prophets, so was Israel carried away out of their own land to Assyria unto this day. So these original, these 10 of the 12 tribes, and including Ephraim, was taken away. So look what happened in 24. And the king of Assyria brought men from Babylon, see that, and from Kirkuk, and from Ava, and from Hamath, and from Seraphim, and placed them in the city that of Samaria. See that? Now it's called Samaria. Because he brought these other nations in there. And it's actually part of Israel, but it's called Samaria because the people that's there are not Israelites. He brought them there to replace the Israelites. It says instead of it's the Lord of hosts doing, because he said he wanted to get Israel out of his sight, and the land that Israel has was given to him, and he brought them there because that's where he dwelled. So it says into the land of Samaria instead of the children of Israel, and they possessed Samaria, right, and dwelled in the cities. And so it was. Here we go. So it was at the beginning of their dwelling there that they feared not the Lord. So they didn't know the custom. They wasn't taught at Mount Sinai like the Israelites was. So they didn't know how to operate in the land, right? It's a strong one that dwelled there, right? And it says, therefore the Lord sent lions among them, which slew some of them. Wherefore they spake to the king of Assyria, saying, the nation which thou hast removed, Israelites, right, and placed in the cities of Samaria, know not the manner of the God of the land. Therefore have he sent lions among them, and behold, they slay them, because they know not the manner of the God of the land. Okay, notice what it says. They know not the manner of the God of the land. See that? So they're using this word God in the wrong way. And they got you using it in the wrong way. That's an L. There's an L in that land. Because the earth was divided up in the time of at the Tower of Babel by the 70 angels. And the Lord of hosts received the region around Mount Zion. Okay, so then it says 27. Then the king of Assyria commanded, saying, carry thither one of the priests whom ye brought from thence, and let them go and dwell there, and let him teach them the manner of the God, or the El of the land. Then one of the priests whom they had carried away, they went back to Assyria and got a Levite. That's the only people that can deal with this God that's in Israel, is the Levites. So he said, then one of the priests whom they had carried away from Samaria came and dwelt at Bethel, and taught them how they should fear the Lord. How about every nation made gods of their own and put them in their houses houses of the high places which the Samaritans had made. Then every nation in their cities wherein they dwell. So we see right here, these Samaritans is not Israelites. They were brought there by the king of Assyria, just like we see that the Ashkenazi Jew that's over there right now is from Japhet. He was converted and brought there. You know, he's not. You can't bring him in and incorporate him in with the original Israelites, the 10 tribes of Jacob. They ascended from Jacob. That's three different sets, manner of people. You can't put them all together. Okay. So, any comments so far? Okay. So I got another one right here. This is a definition of what a Jew is. Okay. Okay. It says right here that a Jew is one who practices the Jewish religion, Judaism. This includes both converts, like I just talked about, and these who have been members of the Jewish religion since birth. A Jew is one who is a descendant of ancient Israel ethnic group, therefore is a member of the Jewish people. So that's see how they trying to merge that together. This says a Jew is meaning one who practices Judaism. Like I said, that's not what we don't have nothing to do with Judaism. You know, this came about after these Edomites came in and land in Obadiah and occupied the land. Judaism came on the scene along with the Tomar. So it says Judaism, the Jews' religion since birth. That's a totally different nation of people. It ain't the same as the Israelite. Okay? So we see right there from those two definitions that not the same people. Okay? So let me get on, keep moving. Okay. Okay.
That, by the way, brings up a question that students sometimes ask about the various names we use for the people of God, such as Hebrews, Israelites, and Jews. What's the difference between these terms? Today, we use them basically as synonyms, but they do have different origins and somewhat different meanings. The name Semitic, referring to the Semitic peoples, comes from the word Shem. The descendants of Noah's son Shem were Shemites or Semites. The Semitic people include the Jews, Arabs, and other people groups, especially from the Middle East. The word Hebrew probably comes from the name Eber, who was one of Abraham's descendants. The word Israelite comes from the name Israel, of course, and you might recall that Israel was another name for Jacob, Abraham's grandson. The 12 sons of Jacob, or Israel, were the sons of Israel, or the Israelites. The word Jew narrows the group a bit further. Jew comes from the name Judah, and Judah was one of Jacob's 12 sons. The tribe of Judah was the dominant tribe of the southern tribes of Israel. So the names originally narrowed the genealogy. Semitic is the largest category, the descendants of Shem. That narrows to Hebrews, the descendants of Eber. That narrows to Israelites, the descendants of Jacob or Israel. And that narrows even further to Jews, members of the tribe of Judah.
Okay, like I said, you're starting to see and recognize how they slide and they trying to put all that, combine all that together. But when you rightly divide it, you see that a Jew is one race of people, Israelites are another race, and the Samaritans is another race. Can't put them all together. They at one time, each one of those groups of people had some kind of interaction with the land of Israel, but the original descendants are Israelites. The other two are converts by religion and by somebody bringing them there, and they being taught the ways of the Israelites, but they're not by blood. They're not Israelites. They're not connected to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. It's only Israel, Israelites. Okay. So with that being said, I'm gonna play this right here. I gave you all that information in order to play this video, and then I'm gonna shine light on some things, and then we'll close out. Okay. You get it.
Jew proof for Kanye fans. We're gonna dive into some historical proof because it's been said that the Israelites are speaking unfactual rhetoric that is heresy, and they say Kanye is he's repeating those things, yeah, with no proof. He's just spewing it out of his mouth. So we could go to some scriptures and some historical books to see if what Kanye is saying is true for his fans. And even if you're not a fan of Kanye, maybe you can glean something from this, from real Jew proof for Kanye fans. Give me that in 2 Timothy chapter 2, and let's read verse 15.
2 Timothy chapter 2 and verse 15.
Call it again for him.
2 Timothy chapter 2 and verse 15.
Yep.
Study to show thyself approved unto God, a workman that needeth not to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth.
Rightly dividing the word of truth. Is that it on that?
Yes, sir.
So you gotta study to show yourself approved, so you're able to rightly divide the word of truth. Because without studying the word, what you will do is you will base your opinions on emotions. It won't be based on facts. It will all be based on emotions, because you have not actually studied the word to show yourself approved to God. I almost forgot too. I got to my right or over here, I've got who we got?
Officer Pagiel.
Got Officer Pagiel, and to my left,
Officer Azaniah.
you got Officer Azaniah. Okay, all right. So they here with me. But if you do not study to show yourself approved, your opinions will be based on emotion and not facts. That they would all be one people, indivisible, up under this Greek kingdom. Read verse 50.
Verse 50. And whosoever of their sacrifice.
So this is how the remembrance of the real Jews ceased from the earth. This is how they consulted together. Don't let them call themselves Jews.
83 and verse 1. Keep not thou silence, O God. Hold not thy peace, and be not still, O God. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head.
So everybody does not love God. He has enemies upon the earth. That's what David is saying in the spirit. God has enemies, and those that hate him have lifted up their head against them as in a proud stance, like we have overcome you. We have defied you. They lifted up their head against God. And how did they do that, though? Keep reading.
They have taken crafty counsel against thy people.
When you research your history, when you research your history, you're going to find out that there has been a group of people upon the earth that has taken crafty counsel against the people of God, because they could not reach him. So they took crafty counsel against his people, and they've been doing it for centuries. This ain't new, nothing new on the earth. When David was saying this, he was prophesying of when the kingdom would fall, of how things would be of the chosen people of God. Give me that in Deuteronomy chapter 32 and verse 26. Let's read that real quick and see what it says.
Deuteronomy chapter 32 and verse 26.
Let me see. Go ahead.
I said, I would scatter them into corners. I would make the remembrance of them to cease from among men.
So how was the crafty counsel taking place? It was to the remembrance of us has ceased from the earth. The true knowledge of who the blacks and Hispanics and Native Indians are on the earth, it has been hidden. It has ceased from the earth. It's no longer there. You don't recognize us as a people. The real Jews' remembrance is gone from the earth. But you got to ask yourself, if God said he would make the remembrance of them to cease from among man, how would that come about to play out on the earth? How would that happen? God didn't just snap his fingers and make everybody forget, like Spider-Man No Way Home. That ain't how it went down. It was a series of things that happened to make the remembrance of God's people to cease from the earth. Give me that in 2nd Maccabees. We're going to go into it. 2nd Maccabees chapter 6, and I want you to read verse 6.
2nd Maccabees chapter 6 and verse 6. Neither was it lawful for a man to keep Sabbath days or ancient feasts.
So this is during the times of the Greeks. This is 333 BC and on down to where we are today. Read on.
Or to profess himself at all to be a Jew.
So how did the remembrance of man, of the Israelites, begin to cease from the earth? When the white man came into power, known as the Greeks, he stopped letting the Israelites, the real Jews, call themselves Jews.
Okay, so let's look at that right quick. That's in I've been there before, but we're gonna go back there because this is real important. So this started way back. I told you in the book of Daniel, he already told you this happened in the 3rd beast, not in the 4th beast. It started in the 3rd beast. And notice what it says in, let me read Daniel right quick, because this is real important. So you're in Daniel, right? And you're gonna see that chapter 8, it says, in chapter 8, verse 24, and 23 says, in the latter times of their kingdom, when the transgressors are come to a king of fierce countenance, understanding dark sentences shall stand up. That's Antioch Epiphanes. You know, ain't no way around it. Then 24, his power shall be mighty, but he shall not, but not by his power, and he shall destroy the mighty. He shall destroy wonderfully, and he shall prosper and practice. See that? And he shall destroy the mighty and the holy people. So he reading now he's over in 1st Maccabees, and he's telling you what he done. He told them he got them to stop circumcising themselves. He got them to pick up Jewish laws and start sacrificing unclean animals on the altar. And then they couldn't no longer profess themselves to be Jews. And then he started burning up the book of the law. Anybody that caught with the book of the law, he was burning them up. This way before the Romans came. All this going on during the time of the 3rd beast. That's why by the time you get to the 4th beast, these Jews took over the land. Jews. See that? When Antioch Epiphanes came, they was Israelites. But by the time you get to the New Testament and what they got going on with the Sadducees and Pharisees and all that, them Jews, same people that came back, they converts. They came back, same people that came back in 1948. But they want to tie it in with their books. They tie it in that these are the people that came from Babylon. But that ain't. It was Ezra and Zerubbabel and Joshua the high priest. All them, that's them Israelites, descendants of Jacob that came back, and then they picked it back up with the same drama that caused them to go to the land of Babylon. And that's when he brought Antioch Epiphanes and brought the nation of Israel at the end of the 3rd beast to an end. And we saw what he was doing. He was doing the same thing they did in the transatlantic slave trade and on roots. Beat them with a whip until they changed their name. And then they changed our names on the ships, on the manifesto on the ship. Because the people over here, when we got in, got off the ships and they heard our names, they would have knew we was Israelites. And like I said, all you got to do is look at the names of the people over there now that's professing to be Israelites. Look at their names. Okay? It ain't hard to write a divide. Okay, let me go back over here.
They could no longer call themselves that. They had to be known as what? Ephesians, Corinthians, Romans, Philippians. They had to go by these things because what would happen? Let's jump down to verse 8.
Verse 8.
Yeah, see, this is where the drama coming in at. These Jews that when you go to the New Testament and you're talking about Ephesians, Philippians, all of them Jews, they're not Israelites. This where the brothers getting sidetracked there. The Jews. Let me give you a prime example of that. Okay, this where the meat at right here. So you go to John. I'm in John, and I'm in chapter. I think it's 8. Let me get it. John chapter 8. Yeah, so John chapter 8, it says 48. Then answered the Jews, John 8 and 48. Then answered the Jews and said unto him, say ye not well that thou art a Samaritan. We just dealt with Samaritans earlier. These are people that was brought there and has a devil. Jesus answered, and I have not a devil, but I honor my Father, and ye dishonor me. And I seek not mine own glory. There is not one that seeketh out and judgeth. Verily, verily, I say unto you, if a man keep my sayings, he shall never see death. Then said the Jews unto him, now we know that thou hast the devil. Abraham is dead, and the prophets. And thou said, if a man keep my sayings, he shall never taste death. Art thou greater than our father Abraham, which is dead, and the prophets are dead, whom thou makest thyself? Jesus answered, if I honor myself, my honor is nothing. It is my Father that honoreth me, of whom ye say that he is your God. Yet ye have not known him, but I know him. And if ye say, I know him, I shall be a liar unto you, liken unto you. But I know him, and I keep his saying. Your father Abraham rejoiced to see my day, and he saw it and was glad. Then said the Jews unto him, thou art yet 50 years old, and how hast thou seen Abraham? Jesus said unto him, verily, verily, I say unto you, before Abraham was, I am. And then took up the stone to cast at him, but Jesus hid himself and went out of the temple, and going through the midst of them. Okay, I didn't read it. I didn't go down far enough. Let me see. Yeah, here you go. 37. I know 35. And the servant abideth not in the house forever, but the Son abideth forever. If the Son therefore shall make you free, ye shall be free indeed. I know ye are Abraham's seed, but ye seek to kill me, because my words have ye no place in you. I speak that which I have seen with my father, and ye do that which ye have seen with your father. Here you go, right here. They answered and said unto him, Abraham is our father. Check this out. Abraham is our father. Jesus said unto them, if ye were Abraham's children, ye would do the works of Abraham. But now ye seek to kill me, the man that have told you the truth, which I have heard of God. This did not Abraham. Ye do the deeds of your father. Then said they to him, we be not born of fornication. We have one Father, even God. Jesus said unto them, if God were your Father, ye would love me, for I proceeded forth and came from God. Neither have I of myself, but he that sent me. Why do ye not understand my speech? Even because ye cannot hear my words. Ye are of your fathers the devil, and the lust of your father ye will do. He was a murderer from the beginning, and abode not in the truth, because there is no truth in him. And when he speaketh a lie, he speaketh of his own. For he is a liar and the father of it. And because of that, I tell you that the truth, ye believe me not, which I convinced me of sin. And I say the truth. Why do you not understand me? He that is of God, hear God. Words are God's word. Ye therefore hear them not, because ye are not God. He said, then answered the Jews and said unto him, say ye not well that thou art a Samaritan and have the devil? And Jesus answered, I have not a devil, but I honor my Father, and he do unto me. And I seek not my own glory, therefore one that seeketh after the judgment. Verily, verily, I say unto you, if a man keepeth the saying, he shall never see death. Okay, let me get on down there. Yes. Okay. I'm missing it somewhere, man. Let me give it a minute. Yes. Okay. Well, I'll find it and I'll bring it back up in tomorrow. But the verse goes that they say that we've never been in slavery. We be of Abraham's seed, but we never been in slavery. So that tells you right there, they not Israelites, because we know the Israelites just came out of Egypt and they went into captivity in Babylon, and they also went in captivity. They just came out of Babylon. So the people that's talking to him say they never been in no captivity. They never been. They free men. They never been under bondage under nobody. So that eliminates them right there as being Israelites. And when you understand the history, those Pharisees, Sadducees, and all them Edomites, Jews. Okay.
Moreover, there went out a decree to the neighbor cities of the heathen by the suggestion of Ptolemy.
Of Ptolemy, a Greek king. Go ahead.
Against the Jews.
Against the Jews.
That they should observe the same fashions and be partakers of their sacrifices.
So this is how the remembrance of the real Jews ceased from the earth. This is how they consulted together. Don't let them call themselves Jews anymore, and they have to partake in the same way of living that we do. So what does that mean? That means that the real Jews had to start worshiping Zeus, Athena, Diana, Wonder Woman. They had to start doing those things. Oh, because if they did not, what would happen? Keep reading.
And whoso would not conform themselves to the manner of the Gentiles should be put to death.
If they did not assimilate to the ways of the Greeks, which later became the Romans, we all know the history of the Greco-Roman era, they were put to death. Keep reading.
Then might a man have seen the present misery.
Now let's go back chapter, 1 Maccabees chapter 1. Let's go to 1 Maccabees chapter 1 and let's read verse 41 now.
1 Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 41. Moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom.
Another Greek king. He wrote to his whole kingdom. The Greeks ruled all of the eastern known world during their time. Read on.
That all should be one people.
The decree was that they should what?
Be one.
What is America's Pledge of Allegiance? I remember.
Yeah, and that's what they're doing now. Like I said, when you read the scriptures, they're trying to make Samaritans, the Jews, and the Israelites all one people. They're doing the same thing now. But the doctrine started way back with Antiochus Epiphanes and the Greeks. It's not something that just Johnny come lately. It started way back. That's the reason why what happened with Antiochus Epiphanes is not in the scriptures. It was taken out.
Remember it like it was yesterday when they made us stand up, put our hands over our heart, and they said, one nation under God, indivisible. What did that mean? Indivisible. That means that you would be one people with the ways of America. And we all know the Americans are the descendants of the Romans and the Greeks. As Kanye fans, I expect you to have a little bit of knowledge because you have followed the guy that had albums called what? College Dropout, Graduation, Late Registration. So I expect you to have a little bit of historical sense. We all know that when it says one nation under God, indivisible, that means that they are telling you to be one people, just like the Greeks did. Let's read that again.
Verse 42. And everyone should leave his laws. So all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king.
Everyone should leave his laws means that everyone should leave their way of life and follow after the customs of the Greeks. Read on.
Yea, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion.
They consented to his way of life. Their names began to be forgotten. They began to be hidden in the earth.
Notice they was called Israelites. What he reading, it was called Israelites. Many of the Israelites started taking up their ways. This is at this point right here. After this happened, then they became Jews, because there's another race. The Jews gone. It's another race of people there, Jews. Okay.
Keep reading.
And sacrificed unto idols and profaned the Sabbath. For the king had sent letters by messengers unto Jerusalem and the cities of Judah, that they should follow the strange laws of the land.
Read on.
And forbid burnt offerings and sacrifice and drink offerings in the temple, and that they should profane the Sabbaths and festival days, and pollute the sanctuary and holy people, set up altars and groves and chapels of idols, and sacrifice swine's flesh and unclean beasts.
These are the ways and the customs of the Gentiles, of the heathen, of the Greeks that we're reading right now, that they made the Israelites, the real Jews, do these things. Keep reading.
That they should also leave their children uncircumcised and make their souls abominable with all manner of uncleanness and profanation.
Read on.
To the end they might forget the law and change all the ordinances.
That was the plan of making them follow after the ways of the Greeks, is that they would forget their own way of life and worship them and follow after their ways, that they would all be one people, indivisible, up under this Greek kingdom. Read verse 50.
Verse 50. And whosoever would not do according to the commandment of the king, he said he should die.
Who did not forsake their ways and take on the customs of the Greeks, of the Caucasian Greeks, whoever did not assimilate, they would die. That's how the name of the Israelites began to cease from being a part of the earth. What would you do if you had a sword to your neck, an arrow to your back? You would assimilate if you didn't have the heart to stand up for your God. We read that many of the Israelites consented to the ways, just like many of the people consent to the ways of America when they know they are not right, but they say everybody else is doing it. Go ahead.
You know how that plays onto today. Many of the stars consent to going back to calling themselves African American. The moment that they try to claim that they are the Israelites, they are Jews.
Right.
They consent to that.
Yep.
And just to land back off of you, that what we're reading about is that one world order. That one world order falls under Christianity.
Yeah.
Christianity is one of the biggest religions in the world. No matter where you go, you're gonna find a Christian.
Yep. And that's how they keep all people as one people and following after their ways. Let's prove it. So, look, give me that book, Babylon the Timbuktu, because we read it in the Bible historically. So let's see what the history books say. Let's pull up Babylon the Timbuktu. All right, so that's the book from Babylon the Timbuktu by Rudolph R. Windsor. Let's see what it says in this historical scholarly book. Go ahead. Let's read that.
Like the black Jews in America.
Like the who?
Like the black Jews in America.
We're going to address that black Jew statement in a little while. Go ahead.
Some of the Jews in Guinea don't remember their original nationality.
It's Guyana.
This deplorable ignorance is attributed
Guinea. Go ahead.
Is attributed to various causes. The fall of the Hebrew kingdoms.
So the kingdoms fail. Go ahead.
The lack of communication with Jewish educational centers. Intense persecution. And the deliberate blotting out of the mind their true nationality.
Just so they could survive, they could live in peace without threat of death. Go ahead.
Thus, Nahum Schloss said this about the Islamized Jews he met.
The Islamized who?
The Islamized Jews he met.
How are you a Jew, but you Islam? You do that because you were suffering persecution from the Arabs during that time. Go ahead.
In most cases, these Hebrews by race and Mussulman, by faith seek to hide their origin, which has become a burden to them. In another example, the persecution of the black Jews in Portugal was so ruthless and frequent that Cecil Roth tells us the Jews did not divulge to their children the secret of their religion until they had attained the age of reason.
Now, you never knew it was Jews in Portugal that were considered black. He has to say black Jews because when the common person thinks of the name Jew, they automatically picture someone that is not like them.
Okay. Anybody got any comments on that? Anything they heard? My point was to get across to rightly divide the difference in an Israelite and a Jew. So hopefully that was obtained. Okay. Anybody got a question or comment? Okay. Right here, what I got going on. Okay, so I'm gonna have computer problems. So with that being said, I want to say shalom, shalom, and another shalom. I'll see everybody tomorrow at 8 o'clock for our clubhouse. So shalom.
Shalom.
Okay.